What's going on, people? Jada Black here. I'm back with another video, man. Link inside the description box should be the first one. It's gonna take you to a video that I posted on my other channel. Make sure you subscribe to that channel as well if you haven't. And it is of this woman, this mother, this black queen, walking out of his announcement ceremony, his National Signing Day announcement ceremony that he was having at his high school. This goes on every year. ESPN was highlighting some of the commitments. He was one of them. He's a talented wide receiver out of the state of Florida. His name is Jacob Copeland. And he talked about how the night before he was crying because he's been agonizing over this decision for a while. But he finally made a decision to go to Florida. What you would notice from his mother, she's wearing a Alabama, I believe it was a sweatshirt and a Tennessee hat, looking all kinds of dysfunctional. Before he announces anything, you can tell that something is seriously wrong with this person. Now, there are, believe at the announcement ceremony, there was, I think his mother, his grandmother, and I believe either his father and brother or uncle. I'm not really sure the family dynamic, but it was two females in the family, and there was some young girls, and it was two males there, you know. And he's making this decision, knowing it's going to be a tough one, but because his mother only cares about what she wants him to do, he makes his decision to go to Florida, and she immediately gets up and walks away while he's filming. Even the ESPN crew who were about to interview him highlight the fact that she's walking out. One of them literally said she's walking out. You know how embarrassing that is, to walk out of your son's National Signing Day ceremony, which is supposed to be the best day of his life. All that hard work, making the good grades in order to get into Florida. Do you know how difficult that has to be, and difficult a position to put him in? But you didn't care about that because you're selfish and you only care about yourself. But you have all these females telling you on social media that they do too much babying of us. They care too much for us. They don't allow us to make our own decisions and grow as men. Well, you had a young man make a decision that was in the best interest of himself, that was going to get him farther in life. She was only thinking about him going to Alabama or Tennessee. For one, why the hell would you want to go to Tennessee? That team just fired its head coach last year and has a new head coach, and the team didn't win very much last year. So why would you want him to go there? You're not from Tennessee, I believe. And secondly, the only thing that his mother knows about Alabama is that they were on TV a lot during the season and that they win a lot of championships. That's probably the only thing his mother really knows about Alabama. Now, I'm suspecting this and other people as well, that maybe some money could be exchanged, some incentive to get him to go to one of those universities, because you have to ask yourself, this cannot be real that this woman would get up and leave. I can understand you not agreeing where your son goes, but you got to keep that bottled up. The fact that you want to show up your son just shows me the type of woman you are. And you probably never even cared about his football career. Probably barely went to any of his games. Didn't take a big interest in it. He had to motivate himself to make sure he got back and forth to practice, make sure he had the necessary things as far as to play football, make sure his grades were high enough in order to do those necessary things. And for y'all that said that, well, those schools will pass him along, they don't care if he makes good grades. The two things that he was looking for and why he chose Florida was, one, the academics, and two, playing time, you know. But see, they're harder on universities nowadays. You can't just pass along a player just because he plays football. Universities are getting put on sanctions because of that. So that doesn't happen anymore. If you don't have the good grades, they cannot admit you to that school. You're going to end up going to junior college. But this shows a lot of us the hypocrisy from the rhetoric that we're hearing about how these women can rear boys into men. But he seems like a very intelligent, mature 18-year-old, I believe. He already has a ton of tattoos, so you already know he doesn't have the most supervision. He probably does whatever he wants to do, but he keeps his nose clean. He plays football, you know. But young black boys have to mature themselves a lot faster than maybe other people, because we bear the responsibility. Now, also will say this though. In that particular commitment ceremony, there was still two people that stayed by his side. Even his grandmother, who I believe was sitting next to his mother, she got up and moved as if she was upset at where he went. Just shows you the levels of dysfunction. The mother and the grandmother are dysfunctional. Anyway, even though she did hug him, she was looking crazy, like she didn't know what to say or do. Did not look happy for him at all. But the two guys who was there still showed him support, still was by his side, and they were happy for him. That is the difference. And that is exactly why a lot of young boys need father figures. They need men in their life to show them support, to keep them in the right direction. This is why a lot of these guys, you know, whenever they do commit to different schools, they always have their head coach of their high school team right next to them, because he was their mentor. He kept them in the right direction. But there's a lot of young black boys that don't have football or basketball, you know? They just run the streets. No father figure, no real supervision. The mother don't really care. As long as she's getting her child support or her Section 8 or welfare, that's all she cares about. Now, if this particular guy makes it to the NFL, she's going to be the first one hopping up and hugging him, trying to talk about how she raised him and how she made it possible to make sure he got where he was. But you didn't like the decision that he made. Also, this isn't the first time this has happened. There were two other high school football players that dealt with this. One was Landon Collins. I was actually watching the high school football all-star game. It's called the Under Armour All-American game. And he made his decision. And his mother was sitting right next to him. He chose to go to Alabama. She wanted him to go to LSU. He ended up going to Alabama, and she did not like it. She was visibly upset sitting next to him. That is supposed to be your mother. Now, that decision actually worked out better because he ended up going to a very good football team in Alabama, ended up being a second-round pick. Now he's one of the best safeties in the league, probably the best safety in the NFL. So he made the decision he felt like was best for him, and it worked. Because we as black men, we tend to make good decisions if we're on the right path. And you had another guy by the name of Alex Collins. Both of them last name is Collins. Now he's from the state of Florida. Landon Collins from the state of Louisiana. He ended up committing to Arkansas Razorbacks. What happened was, after he committed, you know, you have to sign those letters of intent on National Signing Day. National Signing Day is usually early in February. Alex Collins' own mother took his paperwork and drove off with his paperwork. You cannot tell me that that's not dysfunctional. That's not embarrassing. That your own mother is acting that way because she doesn't want you to go to a school that you chose to go to. But I believe later on that day, he still ended up taking his letter of intent and sending it to Arkansas. I believe she wanted him to go to Miami. I believe either Miami or one of the Florida schools, Florida or Florida State. You see, this is why it's better to make a decision that some people may not like than to make a decision that's going to make everybody comfortable. Because if you don't do things to make yourself happy first, then you're going to be extremely unhappy. And it's better to piss off a few than to sit there and listen to everybody else who, you know, advises you to do the wrong things, you know, or make a decision that you end up regretting, you know. And again, this is exactly why I tell y'all, you need to think for yourselves. Stop going along with the crowd. Stop thinking for everybody else. But especially if you are a young man and you realize that you're going to be leaving the house and you no longer have to deal with this woman. You no longer have to deal with this woman. You can make a decision. You say, you know what? She didn't support me. You can use that as motivation. You can say to yourself, this woman does not really support me. And she doesn't. And he got to see that live just like everybody else. But I bet you if he makes it to the NFL, she's going to want him to buy her a big old house, to give her a whole bunch of money, take care of her. But you didn't support him when he was making the biggest decision of his life on a day that he'll never forget. And a lot of other people who saw it won't either, because of your selfishness, your greed, your ignorance. Well, I don't say greed, but your selfishness, your ignorance, and the fact that you only care about yourself. And you wanted him to go to a school you wanted him to go to, a decision he would have regretted. And I think he made the best decision for himself. So make sure y'all go and check out that video. That link will be in the description box. Make sure you comment on this video. Let me know what you think. Whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say, you know, let me know.